Hi, do you have a volumetric outline, stained glass paint, time, and epoxy? Of course, let's see how all this is done. So, in any mold, you can buy a silicone mold or make a contour from silicone sealant, silicone paste, and plexiglass or polyethylene. Pour the first layer of transparent resin into it so that there are no bubbles. Sprinkle the dish or glass with corrector or hair separator, then it will also be better to move away. Your silicone mold will live even longer. Remove the bubbles well and quickly with sharp movements. If your resin does not give bubbles well, then spill it in several layers near the puddle. Remove these bubbles with a burner. Now cut off the small acrylic spout of our contours. If you cut off a very thick spout, then there will be a thick trickle, which is not very aesthetically pleasing. It looks beautiful. You don't need to draw here if you can't draw. If you've created a formwork or base for the workpiece on Perspex or another sufficiently transparent mold, you can print the drawing and place it on top for reference. That is, beneath our mold or Perspex, we place a printed drawing and trace whatever we want on it. The important thing is to buy a thick contour, acrylic, which can be used on clothes, wood, or plastic paper. There are many on the market. I bought mine in Leonardo. This type of contour is available in any art store. In order to maintain consistency in your pattern, apply constant light pressure on the contour while drawing. Support your hand on your pinky finger. Position your pinky finger slightly away from your fist and rest your hand on it. This technique will enable you to achieve even lines without putting strain on your hand or causing it to shake. For the line, I alternate black and white acrylic. I also have gold and silver. I wanted to include it, but I can see it would be overkill. The drawings also look very cool with gold acrylic if it is clean along the contour or there is a transparent base and everything in sequence too. In general, as I have said before, there are many such contour acrylics. Choose. The main thing is to draw densely and thickly. Let it dry and then take a look. I mix on the palette my own stained glass paint. I have stained glass paint from two companies. I can't remember the second one, but one is from Pebeo. I love it. In general, many products that I used from Pebeo are excellent, straight to the heart. For example, silicone oil, matte varnish, glossy varnish, Pebeo wax separator. Just super. Now take a look. All the colors I had were from stained glass paints, but I didn't have dark green. So I added some dark green alcohol ink to the olive green stained glass paint. Take a closer look at the palette. You'll see dark green and green spots. Hence a quick tip, if you're out of ink or a particular color, it's all substitutable. You can use any medium like acrylic paint to create your piece. However, it should be stained glass. If you don't mind if the piece isn't translucent, then you could also use acrylic paint, but only if you dilute it with water. Ensure that it's meticulously diluted as acrylic doesn't apply evenly on epoxy resin. Additionally, I added to the yellow. I infused the yellow paint with more intense yellow ink. I just remembered from the video. So guys, take a breath. This is going to be the tastiest, most beautiful part. This portion was pretty too, but I think he's caused a lot of stress among those who think he can't draw, although I'm confident it's all in our heads. If we want to, we can move mountains. So I mixed a medium viscosity resin. In Russia, it's sold under the brand Art Pro and Art Resin. In Europe, it's sold under the brand Resin Pro. Here, I'm showing you as if you're seeing where the resin is. Now, I'll show label. Pro here, if you want, you can get a 10% discount when you enter the promo code for the Terum in the line. So for this effect, you can use as medium, as liquid, as thick, but maybe, by the way, I'll remove options for how the effects look different with different resins, ligaments, but today we're going to analyze. It's as thick as you may expect, but just so you know, I might be removing the options for how the effects look differently with various resins, binders, but today we will delve into medium resin. Consider the issues you may encounter. The first one, it could be an amine film. If your effect has not contracted, there could be 3 reasons, but objectively, most commonly, there are 2. The first one pertains to the amine film. If you transported your resin in the cold season, or if there's increased humidity at your place mixed in the effect, you don't need to wait for it to gain viscosity, but because your place is humid, the resin surface will be coated with an invisible film, which can exclusively be detected by crouching down. Owing to this film, your effect will not contract and it will remain on the edge. The second issue, if you mixed the resin and either slightly altered the proportions or overheated it, or your component was already somewhere extremely warm too, you mixed it, warmed it up further, and it polymerized quicker in volume as any resin polymerizes in. The problem arises when pouring a thin volume into a slender cup, exactly with this thin liquid resin. So it is 100% better to pour the liquid resin into broader molds. The resin in the center has already coagulated, interlocked, hardened, and definitely does not let any pigmentation through. The third scenario is unlikely, but it does occur. When a trainee or a user working with epoxy resin adds an excessive amount of pigment, because of its density, it simply settles down and doesn't move anywhere. I, however, have rarely seen that. There are 2 moments here mostly. So I've mixed the resin, I don't let it settle, I don't do anything. I immediately separate it for coloring. I need 50 grams for the first layer. See it here. There should be some pearl-like soft yellow tinge in that resin where I have 45 grams. I am now adding 12 drops of pearlescent peach pigment, and everything is falling out of my hands, mixing it well. This color should not be very dense, guys. It should have some color, especially the pearlescent color will look very cool, but it should not be very, very dense. So now I'm going to add a drop of orange and white, open up, see just a bit comes out. Right now, I'm going to take it. You can, guys, make the first substrate. You can even allocate 30 grams of resin for yourself, 30 to 40, somewhere like that. This is for a transparent substrate. Try to make it as even as possible. The more even and beautiful the circle you get, the more beautiful. And even on the back side, in this same circle, I'll add mother of pearl. Here's another caveat, guys. Be careful, be alert. If you add dry mother of pearl, be careful with it, because dry mother of pearl can cause pigment heaviness and your pigment might not shrink as well as it should. So be just a little bit careful, just a bit. That's it. That's it, that's it. And now also carefully add the white smoke. Also carefully everything into the same puddle according to the same principle, puddle to puddle. Don't dump in a very large stream, very thick, and also carefully during the work, remove everything that might be in your way so the glass doesn't cling and so it doesn't turn out crooked and that's it. I pour the rest of the resin clearly into the center and don't shape the middle. I'll remove the bubbles later when the effect shrinks. That's it. Leave to close.